As per absolutely usual, this adorable set of pajamas that I got as a Christmas gift is too long. Story of my life. Everything's always too long. So, I'm going to show you quickly how to hem these so that you can start using your gifts that may be too long. If you're like me, everything's too long. So the first thing that we're going to do is take a look at the first thing that we're going to do is get rid of this lint. Black and lint, you know, a marriage made in heaven. So the first thing that we're going to do after we've taken care of our lint is take a look at the factory hem. So what can we tell about it? Well, the first thing that we can tell about it is that it's really stretchy. So we want to make sure that we use a stretch stitch on a knit like this. And the next thing that we can tell, where's my seam gauge? Where is that seam? There it is. The next thing that we want to look at is the width of the hem. Because we want it to look like it came from the factory this way. We want to try to replicate as many of the things, as many of the factory finishes as we can. So that's 3/4 of an inch. Okay, with that information, we want to have our length marked where we want, this is the length that we want our garment to finish at, not including the hem. So I've marked mine. You can see, I mean, what is that? The story of my life. This is 3.5 inches too long. So, all right. We want to add 3/4 of an inch to where I've placed that pin to account for our factory hem. So that's going to bring us right here. And if we line our edges up on our mat, make sure everything's lined up nicely here. And again, these are pajamas, so, you know, it's not like super critical. And if anyone is looking that closely at your hem, you don't need them in your life. You don't need that kind of pressure in your life. Okay, so, all right, here we go. So we're going to take our rotary cutter, we're going to line our ruler up. I don't need this there. I can simply place my ruler, make sure everything's nice and straight. And there's my pin. I'm on the 3/4 inch line. Let me just straighten everything up here. Let's slide this over a little bit because we want to be right on that. Our objective here is to have our ruler lined up on lines and have our pin at the 3/4 of an inch line. In a perfect world, that's what we want to happen. There we go. Just simply because it's going to make it easier for us to roll these off. Now I'm going to roll both legs off at the same time. If you're not comfortable with that, you'd rather do one at a time, do that. If you don't have a rotary cutter, you can certainly do it with scissors, but this is how I'm going to do it. And I'm in the opposite direction that I really want to be for the camera. So what I'm going to do, rather than go overhand, I'm just going to turn my mat here. Sorry, you're looking through my arm, but this is just going to take 1 second. All right, there we go. Now I'll rotate this back so you can see again. All right, there we go. So now we're trimmed. Ta-da! That part's easy enough. Now don't throw these away either, because we can make a hairband with this. So when we're washing our face at night, our hairband matches our jammies. Maybe we'll do that. I have two pieces of those that we can play around with. But here we go. We're all set. So now our choices are, we need to finish this edge. If we look at our factory seam, this was finished on a flat machine. I don't have that. But you can see that it's just folded over once. This is not another hem. It's folded over once and stitched flat. So what I'm going to do is, because I want to kind of replicate the weight of this also. So I'm just going to serge the edge, the raw edge of this pair of pajama bottoms. And if you don't have a serger, or your regular sewing machine doesn't have an overlock stitch, you certainly can just zigzag this. It's not a matter of being concerned about it fraying, because this stuff doesn't fray, or not in the traditional manner at any rate. But we want that weight. So going back to this factory seam also, we can also see that we have 2 rows of stitching. Now, my double needle wouldn't produce this width. What is that, 1/2 inch? Or excuse me, 1/4 inch? Yeah, so that's 1/4 inch. My double needle is not that wide. So we're going to actually have to do 2 rows of stitching to reproduce that. No big deal. But that's what we're going to do, because we want it to look as close to the same as possible. So let me take this over to the serger. I'm going to serge these edges, and I'll come back. Okay, we're back. Let's get our leg orderly. You can see that now that our leg's orderly, you can see that our serging is all done. And we wanted to turn over, what did we say? 3/4 of an inch, I believe, but it's always good to double check yourself. Yep, okay. I'll also show you. It's a good idea to test the stitches that you think you're going to use to make sure that you've got the stretch that you want. This is a triple stitch, and I've set this to a stitch length 4. And it's not as stretchy as the original, but you can see it does have some give. So if your pant leg gets caught under you and you're trying to get yourself situated, you're not going to rip that hem out. Okay. So what we want to do, we need to get these inside out. Get this turned under. We'll just start right here at the inside side seam. We'll take care of this tail at the end. And that's way too big. Get both of your side seams measured and pinned. And then it'll be much easier to find your center. And then just split your difference, depending on how many pins you want. I don't feel like we need that many, but we want some. Okay. And the same thing on the other side. Our center pretty much finds itself. And then kind of just eyeball it and split your differences. Whatever you do, don't tug at this fabric though, because it will want to. That's a bent pin. Let's get rid of that guy. Don't tug at your fabric because it'll want to kind of lettuce edge on you, which you probably don't want. So don't tug at your fabric. Okay, so you can see that's all set, all pinned. I'm going to pin the other leg while we're right here and pinning. And then we will go to the machine. Same thing, inside and outside side seams first. Check your measurements. Even though you feel like you don't need to do that, you should just get in the habit of doing it anyway, because you can so easily get distracted and you don't know until the end that happened. You thought you had it all figured out. And then at the end, you get a very unpleasant surprise. So, take that extra second and double check yourself. Even though you're a total genius, double check yourself. I know you're a genius, and you know you're a genius, but double check yourself anyway. That's the mark of true genius. Okay. Oh, it's windy out here today, guys. Cold and windy. I'm so sick of it. Can't wait till that spring gets here. It's coming. It's got to. Okay. One more. Okay, we are all set and ready to go to our machine. Now remember, we're going to do our first row of stitching as close to where the raw edge or the front edge of this hem is. And then our second row of stitching was a 1/4 inch away from the first. So we want to replicate that. I'm going to take it to the machine and do that now, and when I have finished, I will come back and show you. So that's the end of this fun little project. You can see our double row of stitching is on. We have a nice little bit of stretch here. It was a pretty simple project. Doesn't take very long, and if you are in the situation like I am, where every single pair of pants pants, pajama bottoms, you name it, that I purchase seem to need to be altered. It's very rare that I find something that doesn't need alterations. So this is a skill that you'll likely use a lot, and it's not very hard. So that's it for now, guys. Until next time, I hope that I am helping you guys stitch a life that you love. Bye for now.